Uh, yeah, I catch you laugh every time now because you know I'm ready to start. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Robinhood Capitalists. I'm your host, DJ Flores. With me, of course, my coach, and hopefully your guys soon. Reach out to Coach Stacey B. He will help you get unstuck, I promise. Coach, man, so we didn't get to do the recap show, so I apologize for that. I will tell you, uh, to go on that before we get to our guest. So coaching, we've had guests on now talking so much about coaching. Drod, when we missed you, he talked about just the value of coaching. We had then Felix on last week talking about coaching changed his life. I mean, it made him go from being a surgeon to wanting to be a coach himself. That's how much it changed his life, literally. And so I thought of, so Thursday was kind of was an aha moment that I didn't have because of unfortunately not very smart coaches when I was a baseball player as a kid, but they didn't know when to pull me off the field. And so as a kid, I wanted to pitch every game and they let me. And that probably didn't help my arm, I'm pretty sure. At least most coaches, as I got older, were like, oh, they messed you up by doing that. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I have no idea. And I didn't really know. I didn't know myself because of coaching. And so there's even levels and value of coaching. But that was a moment that I realized older from doing a little coaching of myself to myself. Now I was like, I need to pull myself off of the field for a second. So things crazy here, had to pull away. But so yeah, we didn't have the recap show, but I did want to give a shout out to Felix because Felix, the Four Hearts thing, dude, you blew my mind with that. We have to have you on soon. I think there's deeper things to that we can really go that might, at least for me, it helped a lot of things that I want to even go deeper with you on because this is just unbelievable. But yeah, shout out
Yep.
to Felix. Thank you, dude. That was
Yeah,
amazing.
great episode. And I'm just glad for once it was a Thursday episode we missed. It wasn't my fault. Usually it's my schedule that gets in the way.
It was my fault. Yeah, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so many things I have to do and I don't know what to do. So I have to pull myself off of this. But yes, I had to
Yeah,
pull myself.
you texted us, said, hey, it's all good. Can I help you with anything? I never heard back. I was like, oh, I hope you figured it out.
Oh yeah, I did everything good. And again, to stick on coaching, before we do bring out Ben from Joe and Bella's our guest this week, but literally coaching. Shout out to the coaches. Again, I valued coaching. I never realized how much I valued coaching, but I valued it even as a kid. I mean, I knew the difference of coaches who were really cared and really like went above and beyond to like go the extra step and know and teach the good fundamentals, but even beyond that. And so being new here in Virginia Beach, we had no clue where to sign Coop up for. And he's at the age that we're signing him up for things. So we signed him up for basketball. It's first time playing basketball, first time ever playing. And his coaches were amazing. Like shout out to you guys. Like they were seriously amazing. Like this league was crazy. It was different than I've ever experienced of like a rec league or a church league. So this is more with the church. It's the same preschool that so it was cool. They had devotion every during practice and during halftime and stuff, which is really cool as well. But yeah, it was just amazing. So shout out to those guys. Coaches can change people's lives, I promise. Even at sports levels at that age. So
Nate Bargatze has a bit on playing for the church team because they weren't allowed to cut him. that would be the worst to get cut from the church's team. But look it up. It's a good bit.
That would be yeah, that is tough. Again, that's one of those, coach, that might be an episode on itself because that's one of those things of can Christians spare the rod and or not spare the rod, as they say. And yeah,
I really wanted you on the team, but the good Lord said no, so we got to go another direction.
Speaking of another direction, good segue there, Coach. So we have our next guest. Excited to have him on, and we're coming here to bringing him on. But so we have Ben Graham from Joe and Bella's. So Joe and Bella is part of the Safe and Sound. They were actually on one of our episodes last year, one of our first a few episodes of Safe and Sound, but Joe and Bella, adaptive apparel wear. And we're going to get into this. We're going to get into the story because if you guys haven't heard the story, you got to check it out. Check out joeandbella.com. You got to check out the story of how it all started and who Joe and Bella really are, because you'll be impressed by it. But again, I can't wait to share that story with you all. So anybody who's with us live, please, you're in for a treat with these guys. And if you do have, if you're like Coach and like a lot of us who have parents who are the baby boomer generation that is booming in that 65 and older crowd at 10,000 a day rapidly, it's not stopping. It's just going to keep growing. And so if you do fall into that, or you know somebody, please share this episode. This will definitely be something worth everybody checking out.
You get one heartbeat song. Take it seriously. This is your masterpiece. Don't forget to dream and taste the colors in the air you breathe. It's your masterpiece. Go ahead and feel it all. Don't stop till it is beautiful. Don't stop till it is beautiful. Don't stop till it is beautiful.
All right, again, we have Ben Graham, the Vice President of Marketing at Joe and Bella's, here with us. We're going to bring him out, but before we bring him out, I did want to start with the story of how it all began and who Joe and Bella are. So in 2012, after, this is a letter, or this is from Jimmy Zola, who is the founder of Joe and Bella. In 2012, after my grandmother fell one too many times despite in-home care, our family made the decisive decision to move her into an assisted living community. We believed she no longer had the physical capability to live safely at home. That evening, as we navigated this world thrust upon us, we were approached by Joe and Bella, two other new residents. With a touch of humor, they warmly introduced themselves and offered a helping hand. Joe and Bella were widowed Holocaust survivors who found each other later in life. Their families made the same decision ours did. They needed more care than what could be safely provided at home. 2 weeks later, we moved my grandfather, who was living with Parkinson's, into the same community. He and my grandmother were reunited, but shaken from the unexpected turn their lives had taken after 60 years in their own home. Joe and Bella were there again when my grandfather moved in, offering reassuring smiles and plenty of advice. From that day on, and for the many months that followed, Joe and Bella ate every meal with my grandparents. They quickly became part of our family, joining us for holidays and special occasions. We fell in love with our adopted grandparents. Joe and Bella made such a wonderful, positive difference in our lives. We're proud to honor their legacy and impact on our family by naming Joe and Bella after them. We hope you'll find Joe and Bella to be helpful to you and your loved ones too. And with that, we have Ben. What's up, man? Amazing.
Yes.
So
thanks for reading that.
Of course, man. I don't think those kind of stories and that gets enough play in where the foundation and what companies, how they started. And again, where Joe and Bella started was, you were kind of sharing it with us. But if you could, I guess, start there with everybody and just tell them how it all started, because it's an amazing journey, and I'm glad everybody.
Great purpose too.
Yes.
Yeah, we've been around now for about 4 years, which is wild to think it's been that long. And I know a lot of times folks come to our website and they won't hit that about us page or dig through the story, and they just think we're a company selling clothes. And really for us, this is deeply personal. We're wildly passionate about making clothes that are easier and safer for older adults to wear. And it really comes from the core of who we are. So our company was founded by Jimmy and Peter Zola, a father-son team. I've been very close friends with Jimmy our whole lives. And so we were actually at a previous company together, the three of us. and some other folks where we were doing corporate research. We were doing research for a lot of big name brands from, we were helping Target and Nike just better understand how to talk to their customers, but we're also working with AARP and a bunch of other brands who wanted to better understand aging. So we spent about 4 years at that company doing a ton of in-depth research about different aspects of aging, from things that were really fun, understanding what it's like to be a grandparent, to some more difficult topics, like what it's like to age in place alone, what it's like when you used to have somebody with you, but now you don't. What is it like when you need care? What's it like when you need to provide that care? And so we learned, of course, particularly around that caregiving section, it ain't easy. And while we were doing that, all of us were on our own personal caregiving journeys. I was helping my family with my grandparents. And, I know you just read a story about Jimmy and his grandparents. And that really was the core inspiration that led us to where we are now. I met Joe and Bella. I became pretty close with both of them. It really is just an amazing story watching, I was close with Jimmy's grandparents as well. So watching them move into this senior living community, and, while most adults don't move into a senior living community, that transition is really tough. Going from a family home where you spent decades surrounded by all your stuff, to, essentially, moving into a dorm sized bedroom, and which is, one of the tougher downsizing tasks you're going to take in your whole life.
Oh yeah.
Realizing what you're going to bring with you, what aren't you going to bring with you? And you realize you got all this stuff. And even if, you might need clothes or you might need a TV, those might not be the right clothes. That might not be the right TV. And so you have to still do this massive sort of swap of all your possessions for what works there. And, I think the emotional, it's a real emotionally heavy thing to give up all your stuff, give up your freedom, your independence. And what I remember, because I visited Jimmy's grandparents pretty early after moving in there, and I remember this deeply with mine, who was, of someone who was very prideful, not just in how he presented himself, but who he was. And, he, up until moving there, his life was surrounded by people who have known him deeply for a long time. And so now it's like, it's like being that new kid at school where, like, you're standing in a room with all these folks who know each other, and they don't know you, and you've got to show them, like, who am I? Yeah. For people who are familiar with, senior living communities, they might have those little memory boxes right in front of their doors where you can put pictures or keepsakes that allow people walking down the halls to know kind of who you've been, who you are. But what we learned was that the clothes you wear, is going to be kind of one of the key tools of showing people that first impression. And so my grandparents, Jimmy's grandparents, Peter's parents, were dapper folks. Jimmy always called his mother grandmother, and she referred to herself as a fashionista. She made sure, up, well into her 90s, her nails were as perfect as can be. She always had lipstick on, and she wanted to wear good clothes. And, she moved in because she couldn't take care of herself physically anymore. She had fallen out of bed a few times, and her husband, who was living with Parkinson's, would be woken up in the middle of the night, and it was on him to help her. And this was even with live-in care. And so, moving to senior living doesn't automatically solve all of her mobility limitations. And she needed a lot of help getting dressed. She was spending most of her time in a wheelchair. And, I think when folks move to senior living and they're now surrounded by professionals, there is like a level of burden that's lightened from you. Like your loved ones are in a safer place. They're going to be taken care of. I know when my grandfather moved in, I lost a little bit of that sort of everyday contact, understanding really what his life experience was, because I wasn't hanging out with him as much. And Jimmy and Peter went through the same thing. And I know all of us did when 2020 hit and COVID locked us, some of us in, locked other people out. And, senior living communities, if you remember, I know it's wild, it's been 4 years, but that was really kind of like this center of it at the beginning.
Yeah.
Older folks were hit really hard. Staff that worked there, a lot of them just stopped coming because they're like, I'm not risking my life for this job. I have family at home. And so a lot of these places were understaffed and really stretched thin. And so, when Jimmy and Peter lost contact, with their loved one, on a daily basis, they really didn't know what her experience was like there. And they eventually were able to get one of the caregivers to do some occasional FaceTiming. It was few and far between. There were a lot of residents there, and Jimmy's grandmother didn't like doing it. She was not good at it. But one day they saw her, she kind of turned on the phone and said, "Hey, we're getting your grandma ready for the day," and saw her put a cardigan on her to help her get ready. Last piece of clothing she needed on. And cardigan's a big stretchy sweater. And we watched this professional caregiver who was fully dressed in like all the PPE, the gown, the mask, everything, and trying to gently drape that around Jimmy's grandmother. And she had to reach back for the other sleeve, and she just dropped a big old F-bomb. And just started laying into this poor caregiver because she was in a whole lot of pain.
Oh, no.
And like, it was shocking. We didn't know she knew that word. And, so like, we're like, oh my God, this poor grandma, poor caregiver. And then we're like, okay, this cannot be real. That's like the easiest piece of clothing she has to put on. It's the biggest stretch. She's like, what happens with all that other stuff? Is this what happens every single day? And we talked to the caregiver. Yeah, that's happens every day. It's horrible. She said it's a long process. It's painful. They don't get along because the grandmother resents the caregiver for putting her in this pain, even though she's doing her best.
Yeah.
And so, Jimmy and his dad were like, well, let's figure this out. What can we do to make this better? And so they went online to look for, like, I think they Googled things like clothes for old people, clothes for grandma, clothes for wheelchair clothes. And they found a couple brands that made clothes that were modified to be easier to put on and off. A lot of them were targeted for older adults, some for people in wheelchairs. And so like, oh, this is great. Let's solve this problem. They bought a bunch of stuff, some tops, some bottoms, sent it out, and they're like, problem solved. They checked in with her a week or so later after they saw the package was delivered, and she's not wearing any of it. And they're like, Grandma, what's up? No. And she just said 2 words. She said, too ugly. And she was right. The stuff we found, it was. Yeah. We found it, and I remember Jimmy showed me, he goes, look what I'm buying for my grandma. And it was cheap. It was cheap looking. Like, you can even see through the website. You're like, oh, that's not going to last. It was not dignified in that it was so ugly. They're like, how can you put this on? Somebody who's taken care of herself, who's prides herself in looking good on a daily basis. And she knew right away, it wasn't even a debate for her. She's like, I'd rather spend all this time getting dressed, screaming at my caregiver, living with this pain, than wearing clothes I don't want to wear. And like realizing, my gosh, it's a terrible, it's a terrible trade-off. Yeah. Like, where's the third option? And really kind of thinking through that third option is where we came from, the company Joan.
I'll pop this. I'll pop this up, and you can talk about this to kind of give some.
Yeah. So from there we started Joe and Bella, which at first we did some deeper digging and found a couple brands that we actually thought were making some good quality clothes, and so we started selling other people's stuff on our site. Help us better understand truly what in this market do people want, what don't they want, and gave us a whole lot of learning. Remember, we're researchers at heart, so that was for us. We like collecting data, and so it really helped us understand, folks that are out there looking for these products. What do they like? What don't they like? And it gave us a little bit of a runway to start developing our own stuff. So we, as corporate researchers, that means we're not fashion designers. So we had to, really approach this carefully. We knew that, like, our personal fashion sense is not what should be translated here for anyone, let alone, older adults who have specific needs. So we brought on this awesome design team who are actually the original designers over at Lululemon. And at the hospital scrubs brand Figs. So they've had some sort of healthcare experience as well as making premium athleisure with some modern fabric that looks real sleek, even though it's really comfortable. And that's kind of the approach we wanted to take. We started working and developing a whole bunch of different products. And on our site right now, we've got 10 or so different products, and a few more coming in within the next month, which is really exciting. A few of the products are designed for people who have some very specific needs. Our first product we had was a pair of pants called caregivers, and it's mainly.
I'll throw this up just in case there happened to be in one of those two in the picture.
They are, yeah. She wearing them? I think she's wearing them. Yeah. So, and they've got, and you of course won't be able to see it here, but it's got a secret internal zipper that goes from like the inside of one knee to the inside of another knee. And so you're able to open up the pants, which is great for folks who aren't able to dress themselves, folks who use a catheter, an ostomy bag, incontinence products, need somebody who help them toilet. It makes that whole process easier and simpler and a lot more dignified. So we've got some very specific products like that, but then we've got some broader products that will help people who have much more common age-related conditions or even non-age-related conditions, just to make dressing easier and simpler without sacrificing on style.
Perfect. And now, Coach,
I think he's calling out lazy people with that last comment.
He might have a little bit. Coach, I know you have some questions, and you mentioned one of our favorite words is data. So I know we can talk about that as well. But yeah, Coach, you got anything?
Yeah. So, well, I mean, I've got a lot. You answered so many of them, though, because as you were talking, I was wondering about the products and how they would work and some of the needs that you're meeting. But from just I love the fact that an entrepreneur can see a problem and then say, I'm going to solve this problem. And so the entrepreneurial spirit in this story is also really, really good. So you go from collecting and analyzing data to reselling clothing, to then designing clothing. I mean, that's quite a leap. So what as you were going through the process, what are some of the lessons learned just from the business side of things of being able to create a business that can have a great purpose like this?
Yeah. I think the biggest is be careful with who you work with, and, try and work with people who are smarter than you, people that are more experienced than you, who know more than you. And I think, for us, when we realized like we're about to be start a business where we're fish out of the water, this is not a thing that we have deep experience on. We're not going to act like it. So I think we approach this with a whole lot of both humility from our end, as well as I just think is a natural extension, a whole lot of respect for the people we're trying to serve. So that was one. And I think the other is, which I think is just related, is to just be really open to new ideas. And some of those ideas are not going to work out. So we're okay if some things we make just fail. We're going through a very careful, deliberate design process. So most of those like failed products don't actually end up on our website. So each product we're working on some of these are taking us over a year to develop. Wow. And we that was I think we didn't realize initially that creating these sort of clothes was going to have such a much longer lead time than traditional clothing. And if you think about like typical retail fashion, folks that are making button downs, they're not reinventing the button down. They're just making it, maybe the fabric's a little different. There's a new pattern on it. We had to reinvent some things, and that takes a while to get it right, especially if you're trying to make clothes for people who already have, physical limitations. You can't make it where it's like, that's good enough. It has to be, these clothes have to be perfect. And so that took us a while to truly kind of push the folks on our team who are, in that design process, and then seek out a whole lot of advice. We've got multiple advisory panels We're working with an advisory panel of some really smart folks who used to, have CEO and executive positions at some major fashion brands, from Juicy Couture to David Yurman. And so they're really walking through and helping us fill in those experience gaps that we're missing. But of course, we also have we talk to these advisory groups more, folks who would be wearing the clothes, or folks who would be buying the clothes for someone they care for. And so we talk to groups of family caregivers, of professional caregivers, senior living professionals, and users all the time. We've got a bunch of, I'm here in Chicago. It's most of us are based around Chicago. And so we've got a bunch of senior living communities here where, if we're working on, so like right now we're working on a new women's shirt and we're putting a pattern on it. We started out very safe. All of our shirts were like black, white, and blue, solid colors. Yeah. The safest thing we can do. But a lot of folks, we want something more fun and exciting. So we're like ready to venture out into that. So we're making some shirts for women with some floral patterns on it and multiple colors and a little more bright. And so we're bringing these fabric swatches to senior living communities during their activity time, having really, the ladies there check them out, give their opinion, and just, from an aesthetic point of view, a fashion point of view, that's been so valuable. But it's also been
it's super smart too. I mean, in the end, like, it just makes the best business sense. Like, the businesses that do the best are the ones who listen to their customer in the end, because the customer is the one who's buying it. I mean, I love that you went right to coaching and advisor panels and mentors and understanding, you're in a newer kind of arena, but like, and obviously you guys with the corporate background and researching, what you guys obviously, I mean, again, jumping into a world that's, you were still familiar enough that you knew there was something there. What other surprises did you run into besides like the one you mentioned?
I think so. In terms of design, I think one of our challenges is that there are a lot of people with a whole lot of different needs, and they all want a very specific solution. And it's taken us a little bit to just come to grips that that's just not going to happen at our scale. So we've realized like we're going to have to really focus around universal design. How can we provide the most help in a garment for the most people possible? And of course, once Joe and Bella is the size of Nike, we'll be able to have very niche and specific and custom made stuff. But we're a few months away from that. But yes. So, in terms of, so that's, I think, been one big surprise. I think another has been just a challenge in how to communicate what we're doing. So if you remember, like when I first talked about kind of our origin story and Peter and Jimmy going to find clothes, it's not like they didn't go to the computer and type in adaptive clothing, because they didn't know adaptive clothing existed.
Yeah, I didn't know that term until DJ said this invite. Right? Yeah,
exactly. Right. And so it's a term that most people don't know unless you got the clothes on you. Right. You don't know these, for the most part, exist. Now, adaptive clothes are all over the place. Right. Maternity clothes for women. The opposite end, baby clothes. That's maternity. Those are adaptive clothes, right? They're all modified for specific needs. Yeah. But a lot of us don't know that term. And some of us that do experience a little bit of stigma around it. The term as well as the product itself. Yeah. And I think there are a lot of folks who are proud, set on their ways, and the last thing they want to do is be told to go to the bathroom, you need this special pair of pants. And I think for a lot of people, it's a tough transition. Now, you talk to our customers, they're like, once they get the pants, like, this makes my life so much easier, and they're fine with it. Particularly, I think when they see our styles and that they look sleek enough and modern and premium enough, to reflect their style and the clothes they've worn. But there is an emotional hump for a decent amount of people to get over. I remember talking to my grandfather once in a senior living community. He just looked at me and goes, "Can you believe all these old people here?" I'm like, "Grandpa, you are 90. Like, you're the oldest one here." And it was just kind of that idea, like, he knew all these people around here were there for a reason, but he's like, "Well, but I'm not." And so it's that idea that, eventually he got there. But I think it takes some people, some getting used to accepting help.
Yeah.
And, for some folks, when they realize, like, you wear this pair of pants, that means, like, your adult daughter or a caregiver doesn't have to go in the bathroom with you to help you, and you can do that now on your own. They go, "Oh, okay." That's an easy trade-off. And I think, as our products kind of keep rolling out and keep filling additional needs and providing additional styles, for different people's aesthetic preferences, that's going to help a lot of folks, I think, get over that little mental hurdle. But I do know, since, Joe and Bella started about 4 years ago, there's been a ton of development in this category. Some of it's been for older adults. There are some other brands doing some good things, but there's been a lot for younger kids, for kids who have sensory disabilities, or other mobility disabilities. I know, like, Tommy Hilfiger was making adaptive clothing for kids and teenagers in wheelchair. Even Kim Kardashian's brand Skims is now making adaptive underwear for women in wheelchairs, which is wild. And so it's like slowly seeping in there. She doesn't use the word adaptive, of course, so it's slowly seeping in there. And we're having this sort of, I think, a big sea change in this country, where we're all okay admitting we're not all okay all the time. We're not perfect.
We're not superhumans all the time.
Yeah, exactly. Shockingly, we're not.
Speak for yourself.
Yes, I think we're, like, getting there. We're, like, this is beginning to be a little more destigmatized. That's why, like, if you go on our social or on our website, like, we've tried so hard to show the joy of aging, that as well as its imperfections, and that it's normal to age. It's normal for aging not to be pretty at times, and that's okay. And we can still have fun while we're doing it.
Well, your website, the clothing that's there, and going from screen to screen, you wouldn't know just looking at it that it was any type of a specialty involved at all. It all looks nice. When you've got such a good story and a really good why purpose statement, when you started reaching out to the folks that knew a little bit more about this stuff than you, did you find it to be a little bit maybe easier getting that conversation started, just because you had such a good solid purpose behind it?
Yeah. I think it's funny, whenever we talk to people about this, it's an immediate, "Oh, I get what you're doing. This is needed." I think it's a very easy sell in terms of, like, buying into the concept of adaptive clothing, of making a premium adaptive clothing brand for older adults. For the most part, we have had, just here's a quick interesting story. So for the most part, when we talk to broader business folks, and we've talked to some investors to help us keep the lights on for a little bit as we make our close. For the most part, they all understand what we're doing and the value to it. We had one investor who is very successful at what he does, and he asked us, after we kind of pitched him on what we do, and I forgot exactly how he phrased it, which is probably for the better, but he pretty much was hesitant to invest in us because he thought our customers would not be alive long enough to buy from us.
Oh my goodness.
And so that attitude is around in the investment community, who are deciding what brands show up and don't show up. If we came to him with a adaptive clothing brand for kids, he would have invested. But he didn't want to do it for older people.
That's amazing. I never would have thought that way. That's amazing.
It was like, it shot, like, there were multiple jaws on the ground when he said that.
He is too focused on the wrong things.
And and I think and I only bring it up. Please not watching, but we only bring it up because I think a lot of people don't think about this group of folks, and they know it. Older adults know that happens, right? They know that whatever the number is, that corporations, that marketers are going to stop thinking that they should be involved, that they should be the focus, that they should be directly served. And knowing that, and like after we had that meeting and with that investor, we all walked away. We walked away, and we were able to be, I think, more resolute and focused and passionate about what we do, knowing like it is that important, and that there are some folks out there who don't want to help older adults. Yeah. And man, I just know, like, my goal is to be old at some point.
Right.
I want to, at some point,
hopefully that's how this game works, right?
That's kind of the goal for, I think, most of us, is to get to that point. So why are we all trying to get to a point in our lives where the rest of the country or the world stops thinking about us?
Well, and I want to go back before we go. I want to go back to something, because I think you're nailing something on the head. And we had, I don't know if you caught the episode with Ryan Hurd, but so he was on one of Tracy's episodes with Caregiving Worldwide Network, and you nailed it with adaptive clothing has that bad stigma that it's this ugly, cheap, hospital almost looking clothing. And so I think that's where that name gets that stigma, but it's kind of the same thing that Ryan mentioned about caregivers. There's a lot of people that just don't connect with the whole idea of caregiving. So it's trying to, like you said, one, get over a stigma, but then also like shine a light, like you're mentioning, on the fact that that crowd that we're talking about, that we're all hoping to get to, is at the crowd that is going to be the largest that we're going to see, especially at the rates of people have kids. Please start having kids. But at the rate that we're having kids, like we're never going to see this kind of generation again. So like, literally, it is something that we do need to really focus on. That's what I think is probably why there's a big push. But so I love, again, your story and the fact of you still not shying away from the adaptive clothing, but trying to make it a new version of that. It's funny, that was my vision of flea markets. Was, again, the flea markets were an older idea and obviously have a terrible name. And it was even the idea that there could be fleas or stuff in this used old stuff. And so that's what uses that stigma. But they're so amazing things and products and no-name products or lower end products very similar that were out of necessity, that are on a local level, that are at flea markets that nobody will ever know of. But they have this stigma again of the same thing. And so before we get into the new partnership that you guys have, because I want to go into the Seth and a little bit of what you guys have coming. And so I almost transitioned you from there when you're talking about the clothing and the fashionista style of it. But I will throw up the Seth, and we'll go there. But this Seth, so this is the Seth. If you could give a little background on this, and I'll throw up Seth and his wife, and we'll start there.
Sure. So I know earlier I was talking about us trying to make a bright, joyous, fun shirt for women. This is our version for men that does that, and we made it with this guy.
I'll do that. Yes.
So Seth and Lauren Rogan run a nonprofit called Hilarity for Charity. I believe it was one of Lauren's parents lived with Alzheimer's, and so I think for close to a decade now, Seth and Lauren have been running this charity, and they raise funds to support families who are impacted by Alzheimer's. And it's become a pretty successfully large charity in the space and does a whole lot of good. And I think I've always thought it's just kind of a pretty cool endeavor by them, particularly Seth, who I know, if you ever see him on TV, he's one of the, at times, jokiestly serious people out there, but really dedicates and is really serious about Hilarity for Charity. And they were gracious enough to partner with us. And so Seth picked out this design. We worked with him. He wanted it to be orange. He wanted it to be flowery. So we gave him a few options to go with. This is what he picked. And the functionality of this shirt is just like the rest of our button down. It's called the Everyday Magnetic Button Down. We designed it to make it super easy to put on and off. I know you look at it, it looks just, besides its bright color, looks just like
it's just like a regular button down. Yeah.
Yeah. Behind each of those buttons is a hidden magnet. And so you're able to open the shirt, close the shirt with, if one hand, if you've got arthritis or tremors, it's so much easier than, fiddling with buttons. Like the magnets are tight enough to stick on the shirt so it doesn't come off. Your shirt won't, flap open in the wind or anything. But they're also loose enough. They're still like not too tight. So if you're an older adult who has, limited strength and dexterity, we got that sort of like Goldilocks sort of strength on those magnets. Find that right middle ground so that it sticks closed, still easy to open. And like, frankly, I know this is one right here. I can just show you a couple things. We'll see a quick live demo. Top button's real. So we typically, tell you, leave that top button either unbuttoned, nice casual look. And all the other buttons just have magnets behind it. And so it's just, so if you let's see, so it's just a magnet there, and you just see if I'm doing this with one hand, just line them up.
Look at that.
Demo. We'll try one more.
And that would be hard. That's impossible to do if it was regular buttons.
Just like that. And there you go. So we also put in, like, into the cuffs, extra stretch.
I was wondering about
and so that way you can leave the cuffs buttoned, and you're able to kind of get your hands in and out. We also made the armholes. It's hard to kind of tell. That's a 3XL, so it looks a little big. But the armholes are a little larger, and they're a little lower than a typical button down. And so that helps getting that second arm in there. It's just a better target. And what's nice about it, like, as you saw the Seth, like, it doesn't aesthetically change like the silhouette of the shirt. So you can't really tell. So that's really kind of just a nice bonus feature without changing the visual. And we also put a little on the yoke, right on the back shoulders. That's stretch fabric too. So as you're getting it on, you have a little give there. So we've got like this blue version. We've got one in white, and then the Seth, we also made in like a relaxed fit version. So it's a little extra wiggle room there. So these ones are a little more kind of tailored, classic fit. And Seth is a really kind of ideal, like, keep it unbuttoned, nice loose fitting shirt. And every shirt we're selling, we're donating $10 to Hilarity for Charity.
Yeah, I'll pop that back up there.
Right so there it is. Yeah, so it's really exciting, and we're in the midst of working with Lauren Rogan on coming out with a nightgown for women. We actually this morning we're reviewing those patterns. We're making essentially a magnetic button down. But it's gonna be a nightgown, so a little longer. It's gonna look just like a traditional nightgown. We're likely coming out with one version with magnets. One version might even have Velcro. I think, as we've learned, there's not a perfect closure every time. Some people we love magnets, but if you've got a pacemaker or you've got like a metal bed railing, you might not want a nightgown with magnets. Or you got a whole lot of necklaces or something. So some people would prefer the Velcro. Velcro is super easy, but it also gets lint and stuff trapped on it. So there are trade-offs for everything. And then, our pants and stuff, we love using zippers.
Oh, man.
So many people have relegated themselves to just basic slip-ons, like sweatpant type pants and pullover shirts and that sort of thing. So having an option is amazing.
Yeah, we've talked to so many folks who have said, like, I haven't left the home. in months. We talked to a younger person who bought our chinos that have zippers that go from the waist to the ankle, and he's like, I can go into. He said he's never had the confidence to go in the office. He's a paraplegic, uses a wheelchair. He's like, I didn't want to go into the office in a wheelchair and sweatpants. Now he does in our chinos, and so it's literally opening the doors to folks who have really remained with those doors closed for a long time. So we're pretty proud of having those chinos, giving that sort of business cash vibe, for the folks that need it. I think, not just younger folks in the office, but I know when I go visit my grandpa and you go see everyone in that, his senior living home, they're all wearing chinos and, nice khakis and button ups and stuff. I don't think that's what I'm going to be wearing if I end up in the home. But I know this generation, that's what they're wearing now. So of course we're going to make, clothes that they want to wear.
Is there, like you mentioned earlier, kids, a lot of times you've mentioned on this kids, and my daughter is a clinic director. They work with kids and families of kids with autism and very special needs. Are you planning to go into the kids line as a company as well?
Yeah, a lot of people are asking that. So we would like to. We have no plans as of yet. And I think really, as you can tell, our heart is really with older adults, and there's a whole lot still to do here. So we think once we can kind of truly figure this area out, we'll be able to expand to younger folks, whether or not it's just, younger adults or kids, and be able to, kind of take our designs and functionality and then just, apply it to different styles of fashion. So we'd like to do that in the future, and know there's a huge need for it. That's for sure.
Yeah, well, just the I guess like the pebble on the pond effect of making it easier for somebody to help to that relationship, because my parents are in the situation where they have to help each other and they get frustrated with each other and all these things. And so whether it's two people together or a caregiver, just easing that process of getting ready, because it takes a long time. My parents are 89 and 86. It takes a lot of their morning just getting up and getting ready.
It does. And, we've seen, a whole lot of research that shows two things that I think are really interesting. Caregivers report the most tension with their care partner during dressing time. And a lot of them say it permanently impacts the relationship. Sometimes that's because of what they want to wear, like what they want to match together. But most of the time it's around the actual process of getting dressed. For some adults, like Jimmy's grandmother's, because she was cognitively sharp, but experienced pain with every little movement in her body. For other folks who might be living with cognitive changes, whether or not it's, early stages or even mid or late stages of dementia or Alzheimer's, getting, you're now living where your executive functioning has changed, and simple tasks like getting dressed are not simple anymore. And something as routine as putting your head in the hole of a shirt could become a scary, tense, frustrating moment.
Or painful, like you said, with
Jimmy's
grandma.
And so even that's why some of our clothes we've even designed specifically for those moments, for people who are, no matter what, are going to need somebody's help to get dressed. And so we've got a shirt for men, a shirt for women. I have a series of snaps along one of the shoulders and down the back seams that open up kind of like a hospital gown. So for those folks who don't want to stick their head in a hole, or who are unable to raise their hands over their head, you can, stick them in this way, and your care partner can just wrap the shirt around gently, snap you in, and it's a much simpler, calmer experience for those who are living with
and you can, I wish I had one of those pictures, but I've seen from the website. I mean, you can not even tell that it buttons together that way once it's fully on either.
Yeah, it was really it took us a long time to figure out how to do that, because
sure,
there are a lot of other brands that have shirts that open like this, but it's very obvious that they do. And one brand has a series of snaps right down the spine, which not just is obvious, is wildly painful and uncomfortable. Others that have an open back, but it flaps open, and so if you sit down, your half your back might be exposed. So we really wanted to do this in the most dignified way as possible, which includes making those openings look really discreet and seamless, so it doesn't look like you're wearing some special clothes.
The shoulder issue you mentioned really speaks to me, because with my mom, just getting up, everything she does to get up or down, it's using her shoulders to pull or push. And so the shoulders stay sore a lot of times. So whether it's reaching back for a seatbelt in the car or reaching to get dressed, every one of those little movements cause significant pain. And anything to reduce that for her would mean the world.
100%. Yeah, I think, just some of these little improvements are really can make a significant change in people's days. DJ, I know you probably see so many different companies that try and help older adults and caregivers and care recipients, and so do we. We've gone to a bunch of these sort of caregiving conferences or new product contests, and a lot of times we come there and they're like, I created this proprietary tech platform for caregivers that does this, this, and this. And I'm like, it sounds really cool. And then we go up and we made pants with zippers. And, it's not the flashiest product, right? It's not something shocking, but it has a huge impact. And, sometimes those little modifications are sometimes all we need to get a caregiver away from the house, for that caregiver to feel comfortable leaving the house, for an older adult to remain in the home and not have to move to senior living, give you that, ease, that ease of worry that, if your parents aren't going to be spending all their days dressing each other.
The dignity to go out in public, like you said, with the guy going back to the office. I mean, that's huge.
Well, simple and meaningful has a lot of power. So I think it's the right track.
Agreed. Well, we're closing in on time, Coach. I'll let you wrap up, and so again, anybody, Coach, I'll let you wrap this up. But anybody, if you do have somebody, a loved one, a family member who the Joe and Bella's products, adaptive clothing, sounds like it might be something that would change their life, would help ease their mind, help ease their stress, or just, again, even just that simple, they want that dignity of something that looks good but can help them get in. Please, joeandbella.com. Like and share this. Please share this with anybody. But Coach, go ahead. If you have any last questions, and then Ben, if you could just final thoughts and share where everybody can find you guys at and what's next.
No, that's really the big thing. Share and like this one. I've been telling my experience with my parents right now that we're going through. So do like and share, and whether or involved in it yourself, somebody that you share this with is going to need the information that we're sharing today. And so really, Ben, if you could just kind of take us out with how do they get to you, and any last words you want to say about the products, that would be wonderful.
And I'll cycle through all of your photos as well, but so I'll throw those pictures up as you're talking. And again, thank you so much for joining us. This was awesome.
Perfect. Yeah. Thank you guys for bringing me on. Really appreciate it. We love talking, of course, about Joe and Bella, and sharing how all of these clothes really can improve and help people on an immediate and daily basis. So of course you can find us at joeandbella.com. Feel free to visit our Instagram at Hello Joe and Bella. It's full of a lot of, I think, fun content. We're not always just sharing our products, but doing a lot of fun stuff around aging, as well as throwing in some fun, exciting discounts. Keep an eye. We're having a really big sale this upcoming weekend as well at joeandbella.com. It'll be our first ever clearance sale. So it actually will be like the actual biggest sale we've ever done before. We don't normally do sales. So that'll be a fun one. joeandbella.com. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it.
Of course, man.
With Seth Rogen in the mix, has got to be some fun in the mix.
Of course.
It is.
Of course. We got to mention this one last time. Again, if you know somebody dealing with this, be sure to check out the Seth. If you know somebody who likes to stand out and make a statement, be sure and check out the Seth. Again, $10 with every purchase goes to Hilarity for Charity. So you're also helping out an amazing charity. But I do want to mention one thing that you did. Again, I always jump in at the end, and I wanted to leave it there, but you mentioned about the fun things you guys do on social media. Guys, please check out their TikTok as well. They did fashion shows. They do I've seen some of your fashion shows at some of the senior centers. Those are amazing. Keep doing that. Like the videos, how excited like you can tell that the seniors are at the communities and stuff like it. You can tell it's just a super good like event. So keep doing that. Shout out to you guys for that. When I seen that, I was like, oh my goodness, that is amazing. So yeah, thank you for.
Thanks. Yeah, those fashion shows, we've gone to several senior living communities, done them. And if you look on our website, all the models on our website are residents of a senior living community here in Chicago. All of them are living with some sort of mobility aid or some sort of change, cognitive change. And they were in assisted care, memory care. It was an amazing week over in Lincoln Park with these residents. But they all look great, of course, in the clothes. And you can see what real folks look like. People who actually use these clothes. It's our, kind of close to our heart. We want to be as authentic and genuine with our marketing as possible. Not put these on professional models. So they're on real people. So we can really see it.
And it's amazing.
So you would on the surface think with this product, Instagram and TikTok aren't where you need to be, but that's where people like us are that are helping the folks that need it. So brilliant strategy to be where you need to be. I like that a lot too.
Yes, kudos to you guys. That was awesome. I can't wait to break this down, Coach. The story of it all, who Joe and Bella are. Obviously, you guys are definitely doing them proud by what you're doing. I mean, they clearly sounded like they're two amazing people, and so yeah, what you guys are doing is just amazing. So, guys, please again, if you do know anybody looking for adaptive clothing at all, send them over to joeandbella.com. Please. Share this with anybody who you know might have someone.
Or you don't know. It doesn't matter. Just share it. This is big. This is important.
I agree. And we all know somebody eventually who is joining this club that we all hopefully eventually want to join as well. So we all wanted to be older and experience some of these challenges but it could be obviously a little less painful, like if you share Joe and Bella with them. So again, until Thursday, please like and share and subscribe and keep feeding the good wolf.
Thank you.
Always on the red eye. This time around, it's not even about getting paid. I'm just an addict for the moment when the magic is made. You through hell. Spend a day in the skin that you wanna live in and see how it feels while the world